DreAllDay.com.
You are now tuned in to the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you're expected to achieve is yet to be achieved. On top of this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative, which is the go-getter energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And we put all of this together into one bundle, one package, one mindset, one method, one philosophy, one book, one show, a daily masterclass that is called Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic, your responsibilities once you have reached success. However you describe or define success. Even if you aren't all the way there yet, but you've created some level of success to where you may be able to give some game back to other people, or you have other people asking you to give them some game. These are the responsibilities that you have now that you've gotten there. You've gotten at least above the ground floor. Here are the responsibilities that are now on your shoulders, whether you asked for them or not. Now, before I go into explaining this, I want to tell you I got a text line where I want you to send me a text message and tell me the most valuable insight, the best idea, something that you're going to do differently or think differently, a question that you have or a follow-up. And even if it's none of those things, you want to get my daily motivation text messages that I send to everybody on my text list completely free of charge. My number is 305-384-6894. Again, 305-384-6894. Now, since all of us are after success in some form, and we all define it differently, you could define it as you wish, and many of us have achieved success on some level. Is the game over once you get there? Is the game over once you have achieved your success, once you have completed your picture? Of course not. What's the job once you get there? Today, I'm going to tell you exactly what it is, because the only way that the entire tide is going to rise is if everybody is moving up. It can't just be one person moving up or a certain segment of people moving up and then leaving all the rest of the people behind, because then those people who are behind, they're bringing the average down. You don't want people bringing the average down. You want the average to be up for everybody. You want everybody to be at a higher level. Now, you might want to be at the highest level if you're looking at it competitively like that, but at the same time, you want other people to be at a higher level, because they will not only push you to be better, they will raise the floor for everybody. And it just makes for a better, bigger picture in general, because, as they say, especially for those of you who are competitors, say you're only good as what you come up against to get to where you're at. So if you're beating a bunch of people who aren't even good at all, then it doesn't say much about you to have defeated them. But if you're defeating people who are actually good, so the thing is, you want to give game to everybody, even if you're giving game to your competitors, because you want them to bring their game to a higher level, which will force you to bring your game to a higher level. And it will also mean that you had to be at a higher level in order to get to that position of winning or that position of success. And even if it's not about you being better than anybody or outdoing somebody else, if it's not about that at all, then you shouldn't have any issue with someone being at your level or even surpassing you if you're willing to give the game away. So once you get to the point that you're at of achieving your success, or the point that you want to get to of achieving your success, there's certain responsibilities that come with it that I'm going to articulate here today. I'm going to articulate some of them. This is not going to be an exclusive list, or an all-inclusive list is the best way to say it, or an exhaustive list, but I'm going to give you some of these things that I want you to keep in mind, especially those of you who have already created some success. Now, how would you know that you already have these responsibilities? It's if you have people coming to you and asking you and hoping that you would give them some of the game that you used to achieve something that you have right now in your life, whether that's something financial, whether it's something career-wise, fitness-wise, relationship-wise, attention-wise, credibility-wise, notability-wise, anything about you that has other people coming to you asking, how did you do that? How can I do it? What do I need to do? That means you created some level of success. Even if you don't see yourself that way, then you should start, because there are other people who are seeing you that way. And today I'm going to articulate some of your responsibilities. Point number one, the topic once again, your responsibilities when you have reached some level of success. Give the game back to the next wave of people. This is something that I just pointed out in the introduction to this episode, but something that maybe you already understand, is something that if you are on this path of development, whether it's personal development, professional development, You're getting game from somebody. That's how you develop yourself. Whether that's reading a book, it's somebody giving you game. When you take a course, somebody is giving you the game. When you watch an informative YouTube video or listen to a podcast or follow somebody on social media who's going to give you something that's going to help you get to where you're going, or at least you see it that way, somebody is giving you the game. When you have a job and somebody is training you, here's how you do the job, that person is giving you game. When you play a sport and your coach or your teammate is explaining to you, hey, don't do it that way, do it this way because it'll produce this result, that is somebody giving you game. So once you have reached any level of success, your job is to give that game back to the next wave of people who are coming behind you. People who are good at what they do can do things for themselves. But when you are great at what you do, you can help other people achieve outcomes as well, not just outcomes for yourself. And if you want to multiply success, you have to spread the game that created that success. You got to spread the people to more than just you. If you want success to be multiplied, not only do you have to achieve the success, you want the people who are either working with you or the people who are working for you or your successors, your kids, your followers, your employees, your team, your staff, the person who's going to succeed you, the person who's going to take over the CEO role after you. Those people have to know how to create success the same way that you did. They have to understand the principles, at least, that helped you create that success. Even if they're not going to do it the same way that you did it, they have to know what the game is. So it is your job to be able to articulate to them, all right, this is how I did it. These are the steps that I took. These are the things that you need to know. Here's how I made my decisions. Here's the mistakes that I made that you probably should not make. Here are the things that I should have known 5 years earlier, but I found out about them later, better late than never. But here's how you don't even have to go through the growing pains, because it won't take you 5 years to figure this out, because I'm going to tell it to you right now. So once you have created some level of success, the first thing that you want to be looking at is, how can I give this game, even this little bit of game, to the next wave of people coming behind me? And understand something. You don't have to be, again, at the top of the mountain, king of the hill or queen of the hill, in order to start giving game back to other people. If you're a person who right now, let's say where you want to get to, your ultimate outcome, your ultimate goal is 100%. All right, there's 100% is everything that you want to achieve in your life. But right now, you've only achieved about 10% of it. All right, you're at 10% of the way. You can still see the other 90 that you need to go to. Understand that there are people who are at 1% right now. All right, you're at 10, they're at 1. So you're already 10 times further ahead than they are. So that 9% difference between you at the 10% level and them at the 1% level, that 9% that you have, all right, that's the game that you can give to other people. They want to get that game from you, and you can give that game to other people. And if you're really reading between the lines of what I'm saying here, understand that even in the business world, even as a thought leader, you don't have to be the person with the most money in the world to tell other people, hey, here are some ways to make money. You don't have to be the richest person in the room to tell people, here's how you can make money. If there are people who are making no money on the side of their full-time job, and you're making a little bit of money, you're making $100 a week or $100 a month off your side hustle. Listen, the people who are making zero, all right, they want to learn how to get to that first 100. You can teach them how to get to that first 100. You don't have to be making $1 million in order to teach people how to make money. So even if you're only at 100 or 1,000, there are people who would love to learn it from you. And the thing is, they may be better able to relate to you at the $100 or $1,000 level than they can relate to the person who's at the $10 million level, because they're speaking from so high up that those people can't relate to them, might not be looking for them, and might not think that that person even understands their position being all the way down at zero while that other guy's at $1 million. But you at 100 or 150 or 1,000 or $500, those people who are at zero may be better able to relate to you, and you may be the one that they're looking to, because they're like, all right, this person looks like they remember what it feels like to be at zero. Whereas this guy who's at 10 million, they might not even remember what it feels like to be in the position that I'm in. So understand that at every interval in between the 0 and the 100, there is somebody who wants to learn from you. So once you start to get any amount of game, once you start to get any amount of information, you want to start giving that game back to the next level of people so that they can come up. And now as they come up, you step your game up. And the other thing that I've told you in previous episodes of the show is that when you really know what you know, not only do you understand it and can execute it for yourself, but you can also teach it to other people. The highest level of knowledge, the highest level of you being an expert is you being able to teach what you know to other people. And I did a masterclass on this. I'm going to got to find out what episode that was. Actually, I found it right here. Episode number 1402, the 5 levels of expertise. The highest level of expertise is not only do you know it, but you can teach it to other people, and other people are producing results with the knowledge that you've given them, when you've given them the frameworks of what you know. So the question that you're going to ask yourself is, all right, have I been able to create success for myself? The answer is yes. According to what we're talking about in this episode, we're going to assume that your answer is yes. Now, am I out there teaching it to other people? Now, once you start teaching to other people, that's another level. And then when other people are getting results from the things that you are teaching them, that's when you're at the highest level. And that's episode number 1440, where I introduce the concept of frameworks, the master skill of organizing your knowledge. And I have several episodes on frameworks. 1849, which is a framework for selling yourself. Episode 1760, where I give you a 4-step framework for promoting your stuff. Episode 1739, the point story application framework, which will help you implement what I just talked about. And episode 1592, I give you a live personal example of the work on your game framework. I explain to you exactly how that framework is laid out and how I use it, how I teach it, and also how I sell it. So this first point here we're on today, the topic once again is your responsibilities once you have reached any level of success. When you are great, not only do you achieve outcomes for yourself, but other people are achieving outcomes based on what you are sharing with them. This is why you got to share the wealth. This proves your greatness, is that other people are winning, not just you winning. And anyway, who wants to be winning and not have anybody to share it with? I mean, do you want to win and not be able to tell anybody else about it, or be able to have somebody else who says, hey, I know what it feels like to win as well? All right? You don't want to be lonely at the top succeeding, because if you're lonely at the top succeeding, then there's nobody to share your success with. It's not quite as valuable if you don't have anybody to tell about it, if you really think about it. I remember once I was playing in this recreational basketball league, and I made a game-winning shot like at the buzzer, but I didn't really have anybody to tell about it at that moment. It wasn't anybody for me to call and talk about and tell about, like, hey, look at this shot that I made. I wasn't dating anybody at the time, and I don't think I was really in touch with anyone specifically who I could tell about it, who would be excited about it. And it wasn't as exciting because even though I had made the shot and I know that I did it, there wasn't anybody to tell. There wasn't anybody to share it with. So not only do you want to create the success, but you want to have other people who are also creating that success that you can share in that victory with. That's something that we could touch on, the concept of the mastermind, but we'll get into that on a different day in a different conversation. So you can't scale one person. When it comes to success, you can't scale just one person winning, but you can scale a process of success, an idea or a system that creates success, one that works for others the same way that it worked for you. And the only way that you can prove that that is true is if you're giving that game to other people. So once you have created some success, don't be selfish with your game. Make sure you're giving it out to other people, which proves that it not only works for you, but it works for others. Point number 2. Today's topic, once again, is your responsibilities once you have created success. Tell people what mistakes to avoid and what challenges they will need to overcome. All right, this is part of giving people the game. The game is not just the parts that are going to help people succeed, but the parts that will help them avoid failure. The parts that will help them avoid the bad investments of time, money, attention, energy, and focus that maybe you had to suffer through because nobody told you to avoid these things, but because now you know, you can be the leader that tells other people, okay, here's a mistake I made. You don't make the same mistake. Here's where I didn't know something, but now I know it. I'm telling you. So now you're not going to do the dumb thing that I did because of the ignorance that I had 3 years ago. You don't have that ignorance because I'm filling that gap for you right now. You help other people save the time and energy that you had to invest in order to learn from those mistakes. You make the game easier for the next generation. So if it took you 10 years to get from 0 to 100 in your progress and your process, then another person shouldn't need to take 10 years. The person who comes after you, if they're getting gain from you, shouldn't take them 10 years. Why? Because all the mistakes that you made, many of those mistakes, they should be able to avoid. All the things that it took you a long time to figure out, they should know those from the beginning because you've already laid it out. The process that it took you 7 years to figure out, all right, here's the winning process. All right, that 7 years should be cut short for them because you already have the winning process. They don't need to go through all the trial and error that you went through. So anytime that you take something like an online course, or you're in a coaching program, or you hire someone as a coach, or you read a book, or you listen to a informative, information-based podcast episode, or read tweets, or even social media, all those things are born out of this exact idea of a person telling you, I'm going to save you the time that it took me to figure this thing out. I'm going to tell it to you right now up front so you don't have to go through this longer process that I went through. I went through all these years of going trial and error and learning this thing, and this thing didn't work, then this worked, and then this didn't work, and then I had this setback, and then I had to do this, then I tried these 10 things, and these 2 out of 10 things worked, and now I know what the actual process is. Whenever a person is giving you some information, they are letting you know, because I went through all of that, you don't have to. So when you start putting yourself out there, this is what you're telling people, even if you're not saying it specifically in so many words, but a lot of people actually do. If any of you ever read the sales page of someone who is selling a course or even a book, a lot of times they're telling you this exact thing. I went through this trial and error. I tried this. I got all this information. I did all these things that sound like a whole lot of work. And because I did those things, now I know what you don't have to go through all that stuff to figure out. I'm going to tell it to you without you having to do all the work that I had to do. This is part of your, excuse me, part of your responsibility once you start creating success. Let's move on to point number 3. Today's topic today is your responsibilities once you have reached a level of success. Now, this one may sound trite, but it is a necessary point to be made. Encourage other people to also become successes. Sounds pretty simple. Like, of course, Dre, of course, I'm gonna encourage other people to become successes. I want to show other people how they can win. But if you really think about it, were there times in your when you're in your come up, maybe before you even started to create any success, when you were still at that 0 level or that 1% level, where maybe you weren't sure you could create success, you weren't sure it was a possibility for you. Now, of course, you saw that it was possible for other people, but you weren't quite sure you would be able to do it. Doesn't necessarily mean that, think about when I say you got to encourage other people to create success, it doesn't necessarily mean that everybody out there is thinking that you're the only one who can do it and you're so special. But there are some people who look at their situation and they don't quite see the same possibilities for themselves that you now know are true for you, or the same possibilities that you see for them. Because when you're at that position of being at 100% or even 50%, you know it's possible to go from 0 to 10 to 20 to 30 to 40 because you've been through it. But other people who are at 0, when you're sitting there at 0, you're looking up at that 10, 20, 30, 40, 67, 72. You're not quite sure you can get there because where are you? All right, your perception is your reality, and your reality sometimes becomes your perception because those are the things that you're seeing. So it doesn't necessarily, when I say telling people that they can be a success, it doesn't necessarily mean telling them what they want to hear, that you can be great and that you're unstoppable and that everything you do is going to work, because that's not true as well. But it's showing them what it takes, showing them, hey, here's the first step, here's the second step, here's what you need to do next, here's what you do after that. I read about how, to give you an example, how Kobe Bryant, who's, we all know, legendary basketball player, Hall of Famer Kobe Bryant, how he was coaching young girls. He had jumped into women's basketball. That's where he was putting a lot of his time, at least as far as basketball goes, after his playing career. And specifically, he was coaching his daughter's basketball team. And Kobe and the young girls he was coaching, they would have these 3-hour basketball practices, and they would practice every single day. I remember Kobe was on, I don't know what show it was, maybe Jimmy Kimmel, one of those late night shows. And Kobe talked about, like, they asked him, how often do you practice? Kobe said, every day. We practice every day. And they would have these 3-hour practices, and they would spend 2 to 3 hours every day on defense. And that's how they would practice. Now imagine you're a child playing basketball at 10, 11 years old. His daughter was pretty young. And your coach has you doing 3-hour practices a day. Now most parents will probably chafe at that. Most parents probably wouldn't like that. And a lot of kids probably wouldn't. But because it was coming from Kobe Bryant, I think they were willing to listen. And he has them working on defense 2/3 of the time. I don't know how many basketball players we have listening to this, but defense practices were some of the most grinding, grueling, boring, tedious practices because practicing defense is not fun. Okay, it's not fun unless you have to have a really special type of mentality to understand the fun that comes in defense and basketball. And at that age, I don't think I would have had that mentality, but I guess Kobe got those people to listen. But the whole point is this: Kobe had those players, those young girls, practicing defense 2/3 of the time because he was trying to implant the right fundamentals in those kids and help them understand. Again, because of the cachet that came with the name Kobe Bryant, I think they were willing to listen. I doubt there are many other coaches at coaching kids at that age, male or female, who would have been able to get people to listen. And this is going on point number 2, showing them that they can become a success. And here's what you need to do to get there, even if it's not necessarily what they thought it would take. Because listen, if what those people down at the levels below you think they already know what it takes to create success, they will probably already be doing it. So they probably have some misconceptions about what it actually takes. And your job as the person who is giving the game back is to show them what it really takes. Creating success is one thing, multiplying success is another thing. My question to you then is, and the question you should ask yourself rather, is who else in your circle is winning other than you? Who else in your circle is winning other than you, and who else in your circle can you help win other than you? See episode 1058, the different levels of associations. You got the 2-minute people, the 2-hour people, and the 2-day people. Are you telling people what they need to hear, or what they want to hear rather, or are you telling them what they need to hear and what they need to know? Are you showing them what they want to see, or are you showing them what they need to see? Don't allow people to make excuses. Same way you wouldn't have made it to where you are if you allowed yourself to make those same excuses. All right? When you hear people making excuses about their success, ask yourself, all right, if I told myself that same excuse, where would I be right now? And are you allowing it? Are you tolerating it? And this is part of your responsibility. And I want to make sure you're paying attention to what I'm saying here, is that when you hear someone making an excuse about how they can't create success, if you allow them to walk away and keep that excuse, you allow them to own that excuse, you are doing that person a disservice. When someone comes to me and they come to me with some excuse, let's say athletes will come to me and tell me something about how their coach is holding them back, or they think their coach is hating on them, or how they feel like they're the best player on the team, but the coach is not giving them playing time. I would be doing them a disservice if I allowed them to give me that excuse and I just went with it. And I responded to them in some way by saying, hey, I understand that sometimes coaches hate on you, but here's what you need to do. I wouldn't say that, because if I did that, I'm doing them a disservice, because then I'm buying their excuse, which is going to allow them to buy their own bullshit. Or the fact that they even came with that, I already knew it was some bullshit, and I would call them out on the bullshit. And I would tell them straight up, listen, coaches don't hate on players. All right, so any athlete out there, or we got any coaches out here listening, all right, make sure your players, that you let them hear this from me. All right, coaches don't hate on players. All right, if you're not getting playing time on a sports team, it's probably because your performance is not contributing enough to winning relative to the other options that the coach has, i.e. your teammates. Your teammates offer a better option for winning than you do, and that's why you're not playing. Or your coach perceives that your teammates offer a better option or a better possibility of winning than you do. And your job then is to change your coach's perception, not through your speech, but through your performance, because sports is a performance-based business, and many other areas of life are the exact same thing. So what I would tell athletes who will come to me with the blaming the coach situation, I would say, well, listen, if your performance was at a higher level, then the coach wouldn't have a choice but to have you in the game, or have you on the court, or let you do whatever it is you claim you can do, but the coach is not giving you a chance to do it. You need to step your own game up, because you can't control the coach. I have so many videos, probably 10 videos on YouTube that I made over the years talking about these coach-player relations, because I got these questions so often from up-and-coming players. I'm saying to them, listen, if you feel like the coach is playing favorites, maybe you're telling the truth. So you got 3 options. Number 1, you can go to the coach and ask them, hey, what can I do to earn more opportunity here on this team? Another one is you can just step your performance up, period, and show that you're actually worthy of it, so you become one of the favorites of the coach, because coaches are human beings. Or you can shut the hell up and keep working. All right, those are the 3 options that you have, and that's pretty much actually how it works in all of life. This is not just for sports. And I talked about this in episode number 685. The title is Shut the Hell Up and Keep Working. This is one of the options that you have when things are not working in your favor in a certain situation. And when you reach a position of success, again, you cannot allow someone to give you an excuse and then you buy it. Do not buy other people's bullshit. Do not buy people's excuses, because when you do, as a person who they're looking up to you, even if it's just a little bit looking up to you, and you buy their excuse, you are doing them a disservice, because now they're not going to be able to create the success they need to create, because this excuse is going to keep them in a place that they shouldn't be. because you know that that excuse is not true. You know that that excuse is not going to get them to success. So how are you going to let them come in with the excuse, give it to you, and then you just let them walk out and not say anything? So it's your job to actually speak up and let them know when they're giving themselves some bullshit. And if you don't do that, you are doing a disservice to anyone who is looking up to you, and you are basically sabotaging their success by your indifference and your inaction. Point number 4. Today's topic, once again, is your responsibilities once you have reached a certain level of success. Build a ladder for others to climb so that they can ascend to where you're at. Basically, help them get to the same place that you're at. Now, getting to the same place that you're at is not an overnight thing. It's not just, you tell them one thing and all of a sudden everything's going to work out. This is a process. What do people need to do to get to where you are, at least in some way? What do they need to do? What work did you have to put in? How much time did you have to put in? How much effort did you have to put in? How much dedication did you have to have? Let them know. Tell them what it really is going to take to get to where you're at. Building a ladder, when I say building a ladder, it doesn't mean you do it for them. It doesn't even mean you have to do it with them. It could be as simple as you doing something like starting a show, making a video, writing an article, hosting a webinar where you share with other people, hey, this is what I did. Step 1, 2, 3, 4, step 35, all the way through. Or writing a book about it, or allowing someone to interview you. Basically, you're going to put the game out there for others to work from. And I want to give a quick disclaimer out here for any of you who may not have been in such a position long enough that you understand exactly how human psychology works and how quirky human beings can be. Once you reach a level of success, one thing that happens with people, and I know this happened with me, when I first got to the point that I noticed that people were actually asking me to tell them, hey, what can I do to reach the kind of success that you reach? You might be thinking that, damn, if I give the game away, if I give so much of the game away and I tell people exactly what I did, I might be creating my own competition. I'm training people to compete against me. They might take my spot. On the contrary, let me tell you why that's not actually what's happening. Most of the time, when you tell people what it will take in order for them to reach the same level of success that you have reached, most of the time, many people are just going to realize, okay, maybe it's a lot more work than I thought it would be. Maybe I don't want the success as much as I thought I did. And they will cease trying. They won't even try to get the success anymore because they don't want to do the work. This is usually what happens. Any of you who's listening to me right now who has been at the level of success and you've had people ask you and you've been giving them the game back, tell me I'm wrong. Or you can text me and concur and say, Dre, you're absolutely right. I've given the game to 500 people and about 497 of them did absolutely nothing with the game. 3 people used it and they got good, but the rest of them did absolutely nothing with what I told them. This is usually what happens, folks. So don't have a scarcity mindset that if you give the game to other people that they're just going to take everything that you did and just take all your skills and take all your opportunity and just surpass you so easily by tomorrow is going to happen. Usually you get them 10 years is not going to happen because most people just don't want to do the work. The biggest excuse that a lot of people have is that either they just have these preconceived notions that are not true, and the second biggest area of excuses that people have is that nobody will tell me how to do it. Nobody will give me the information on how to get started or where I'm supposed to begin or what I'm supposed to do next. So tell them everything they need to do. And I guarantee you what's actually going to happen is most of them are going to realize, okay, I didn't know it was this much, and they're going to do nothing. But here's the good part about you doing that and them doing nothing is that they never have the excuse and nobody told them. So when you tell people everything they're going to need to create success, you will be surprised to find out most people don't want success as much as they claim they did when they find out what it really takes. But this is your responsibility to put the game out there so that the few who are willing to do the work, or the few who will maybe change their minds and come around to being willing to do the work, now they got the game and they can do what they got to do with it. And they will thank you later. Not going to thank you today, but they'll thank you later. Let's recap today's class, which is your responsibility once you have created some level of success. Now, since we all want success and many of us have achieved it on some level, I know you have, you're listening to this show. Understand the game's not over once you get there. Today, I'm going to tell you what you do now. Even as you are continuing on your own journey of success, these are things you can do while you are building. Number 1, give the game back to the next wave of people. When you're good at something, you can do things for yourself. When you're great, you can help other people do the exact same thing. You can't scale one person being you, but you can scale a process or a system that works for other people the same way that it worked for you. So test and find out if your success was created by a process or system, or if it was just random wealth. If it's a process or system, then other people can learn from it too. Number two, tell people what mistakes to avoid and what challenges they will need to overcome. This will help them save in their investments of time, money, attention, energy, and focus by you telling them where you made mistakes and the things that you wish you knew earlier. Now they won't have to make those same mistakes because you're going to help them out with it. You are saving them time with the very things that it took you a lot of time to figure out. Number three, may sound trite, but it's necessary. Encourage other people to become successes. A lot of people don't think they can become a success because they look in the mirror, they just don't see that possibility for themselves because they haven't been where you are. But since you're there, you know it's possible. It is your job to offer people that encouragement. And it doesn't mean you tell them what they want to hear. It means you show them and have them do what they need to do, which is usually not the same as what they think. Because if it was the same as what they thought, then they would probably already be doing it. Who else in your circle is winning other than you? Meaning you need to show other people how they can create that success. Again, it's usually doing things that are different and thinking things that are different than what they actually think. Their preconceived notions or their false beliefs of what it takes to create success. I mean, if those beliefs were true, they would already have success. Point number four, build a ladder for other people to climb so that they can ascend to where you are at. This is the process that you're going to help them go through. What do people need to do to get to where you are, at least in some way? How can they partially start getting there? Building a ladder doesn't mean you do it for them. It can be as simple as writing a book, writing an article, hosting a webinar, doing a podcast episode, being interviewed, putting the game out for others to work from, and don't have a scarcity mindset that you think other people are just going to take all your success from you because you gave the game away. Most of the time, when you tell people exactly what it takes to create success, and a lot of people don't understand how much work it takes, most people are going to realize, okay, maybe I don't want success as much as I thought I did, and they'll go the opposite direction. Send me a text. Tell me the most valuable insight you got from today's masterclass. My number 305-384-6894. Work on your game. Dre all day.